Hey there, YouTubers. This is Meet the Gamer, and welcome to this episode of Dungeon Defenders. This episode, I won't be doing any maps, but I will try to explain most of the heroes and what they can do. Okay, let's start with the monk. This is not the original skin for it. I will be showing you the skins. This is the Apprentice and his original skin. You can change the color, so yeah. This is the Squire in its original skin. He's the melee and tank. This is the Huntress, which has traps and ranged weapons. This is the monk. The jester, sorry. The summoner, series evolution, the barbarian, the Countess, which is the female version of the Squire, the wood elf, it's the male version of the huntress, the initiate, the monk version of or the female monk version, the adept, the female version of the apprentice. Yeah, okay, let's talk a little bit about the monk now. The monk is a character that excels in damage and buffing. He doesn't have any towers, but instead he uses auras. This aura is, for example, the ensnare aura, which makes enemy mobs that enters the aura move and attack more slowly. The movement loss and attack speed loss really depends on the aura, but it's really useful in survival and normal maps. You also have electricity aura, which is a pure damage aura. It damages enemies that walks into it, but it does not damage enemies that has immunity to electricity. There's one way to counter that. I will explain it in a bit. They also have a healing aura, which heals every player that steps inside the aura. Next is the strength drain aura. This one is really nice. As the name suggests, it drains the enemies of their attack damage, but also their immunities. So this aura, combined with, for example, electricity aura, does so that when enemies step into this combo, they get stripped of their electricity immunity and still take damage from the electricity aura. It's also very useful if you combine the strength drain aura with, for example, the apprentice or the adept's towers, because the apprentice and adept only have elemental towers. So with that combination they can still damage. Okay, let's talk about the last aura, which is the enrage aura. This one a lot of people don't like, but it's really nice in a map where there's a lot of enemies and you only want to focus on taking down the big ones. This aura, every mob that steps into it has a chance, it's not 100% as far as I know, to get enraged, which means that they'll attack the nearest target, and most likely the nearest target is their own unit or their own people, which can be handy but can also delay each wave, because they will fight, they clog up the paths that the monsters comes from, and each round can just take a whole lot longer. The monk also have two hero abilities. The first one is the tower boost. it sends out an aura depending on your skill level that heals and buffs towers. I believe they also increase the attack speed of towers, but I don't think they increase the health. They also have the hero boost. It takes and makes an aura around the monk that heals and buffs the attack speed and damage of heroes that are inside the aura, and that's really nice in boss fights, for example on the Eternal Crystals or on the campaign. That's it for the monk. Well, I can explain. For example, the monk has two means of attack. The one is melee, the second one is ranged. I think all staffs have this option of either meleeing or ranging, but I haven't checked out every staff in the game yet. Okay, let's switch off to the Countess, which is the female version of the Squire. They have the same towers except different activate abilities. I'll start with explaining the towers first. First, you have the barricade, which is a standard barricade with a lot of health point and also has a thorn effect. When units walk into it or attack it, it damages them. Then we have the bouncing or the bouncer blockade. It's fairly simple. It's one block that spins around and knocks enemy away while damaging them. Then we have the harpoon turret, which is the main damage for or I like to call it the main damage for the Squires and Countess. It's got a really nice range. The attack speed, of course, is depends on your stats, and the damage is pretty high. Next, we have the bowling ball turret, which is really nice if you have people in a choke point and downhill. As you can see, the bowling balls they take some time before they despawn or gets crumbled. Sorry about hitting the microphone there. So they're really nice in a choke point. Of course, they bounce a little bit randomly, but yeah. The last tower we have is the slice and dice, which is a really nice but really DU expensive. DU is of course the defense units. As you can see, it has does not so much damage per hit, but his attack speed is really high. I don't like to use this turret because even though it's really nice attack speed and stuff, it uses a lot of DU. I prefer to rather use a blockade and maybe put up a harpoon turret instead. Next we have her activate abilities, which are hero boost, or let's see, it's the call to arms. As you can see, it rallies nearby allies, increasing their potency, while also boosting your defense and speed. This is the joust ability, which basically she charges while in a cone in front of her, damage and push away mobs. It's really efficient if you're like on a bridge with lava on each side. You just charge and enemies just get pushed into the spikes, lava or whatever. That's it for the Countess. I will not go like through every hero, because the difference, for example, the Countess, which I have here, and my Squire, which is here, it's only the activate ability. For For example, the Squire, instead of the call to arms, he has blood rage, which only buffs the Squire, not his friends around him. But he also have a circular attack called Spin Slash, which is really nice to take out a large group of mobs. If you have seen my other Dungeon Defenders videos, you will see that I use it to damage a lot of mobs. Next we have the Huntress, which is a ranged DPS character, but instead of towers, she utilizes traps. You just place a trap down when enemies walk inside this zone. It releases, or it triggers, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they only take damage there. As you can see, if I place it here, the inner zone is where they have to walk to trigger it, but it also affects the green circle around. So the area is bigger, but the trigger zone is smaller. You can also change it. I forgot to mention this with the monk's aura, but if you press on the num pad, if you press minus or plus, you can increase the area from which the trigger zone is. This also changes the aura effect for monks, how big and small the aura is. Because sometimes you want, for example, to place those traps near or auras near the spawn location of mobs, but you're not allowed to place so that their area of effect is inside the spawn location. So you might, for example, want to make them bigger so that you can place it more efficiently. Yeah. First we have the explosion or proximity mine trap, which is a standard mine. When they walk, it explodes. Unfortunately, they don't automatically get activated by these dummies, but we can where is it? Hero detonate traps. As you can see, it does a good amount of damage. Each of these charges gets upgraded depending on your tower trap detonation count or tower health, and if you upgrade it, they get more charges. Next we have the gas trap. This is a nice trap if you want to damage people, or not damage with the trap, but it chokes the enemy, making them stop in their path and cough, which you can then, for example, combine with harpoon turrets or apprentice towers to damage them while they can't do anything. See, hero detonate trap. As you can see, it lasts for quite a bit, but you also should have some trap reset speed to make sure that the enemies that you want to trap stays there. Unfortunately, enemies can be poison immune, but there you have the efficiency of combining heroes. For example, with the strength drain aura from the monk, if you place the strength drain aura on top of the gas trap, they will lose their poison immunity and get trapped. Next we have the infernal trap. This one is really nice to take out the bulk of enemies, because yeah, you will see it does a lot of damage in a big area, and it stays activated for quite a bit. Let's see. Next we have the darkness trap. Can't remember 100% what this one do. Let's just read it. When this trap is triggered, a cloud of darkness makes enemy lose their current target. and lose any elemental effect. Ah, sorry, I didn't know that they had that. I really don't play Huntress that a lot, which is quite nice. Let's detonate this trap and see how it looks like. Nice effect. Lastly, we have the Eternal Spike Trap. This is a trap that does a lot of damage, but can take some time to reset. Let's detonate it. As you can see, it did a lot of electricity damage on that dummy. Okay, it didn't take that long to reset, but that's probably because my stats, they're very noob stats, but still. Okay, then we have her activate abilities. The first one, the number 2, is stealth. When activated, mobs or enemies can't see you, but it also continuously drains your mana. Next we have the Hawk, which shoots a single bolt that pierces multiple enemies. So as long as this thing is flying, it will still damage on its path until it reaches a wall. It's really nice if you have a choke point and you have a lot of enemies in a single line. Well, that's it for the Huntress. Let's move on. Then we have the Apprentice. Of course, this is a skin, it's not his actual look. Okay, the first thing with the Apprentice is he has 2 attack mods. It's most of his attacks can be charged for extra damage. It's the bolts, which you can shoot with your primary attack. Then you have the AoE damage, which causes a single blast of pure energy and an AoE around him. Okay, let's talk about his towers. First we have the Magic Missile Tower, which is it shoots a single bolt with no magic affinity. It means that it's physical damage, so enemies can't resist it. Then we have his defense. It's a magic blockade. It doesn't have that much health point, even with a lot of tower health, than for example the Squire's blockade, but it's still nice because it costs so little DU to summon. So it's nice if you have like a small choke point, and also they don't aggro. They don't draw aggro to ogres. I'm not sure if they patched it, but I know that earlier last year, if you had these towers or these blockades instead of the spike blockades from the Squire, ogres didn't hit them so much. Instead of continuously attacking, they just stood there for a couple of seconds before their next attack because they didn't know what to do. They probably changed it. Okay, next one we have the Fireball Tower, which is a high DPS and very quick damaging tower. It also has an AoE splash damage. It's pretty nice, except enemies can be fire immune, but that's why we have a combination of other traps or auras to take away that. Secondly, we have, or second last, we have the Lightning Tower, which has an AoE targeting area. It has to charge up and shoots out a single ray of lightning. The lightning gets chained to other enemies, which makes it very nice in an AoE area. Lastly, we have the Deadly Strike Tower. This is a tower with high damage and high range. It can shoot target enemies from far away, but does not have a great attack speed, though it does have a lot of damage. Now let's talk about his hero ability. You have Overcharge, reduces your summoning time dramatically while this ability is active. Let's see if we can show that off. Okay, this is the summoning time of a normal magic missile tower. It's not much, but if you overcharge it, it should be very fast. As you can see, that was almost instant. Next, it's his Mana Bomb. This is the ability that makes the Apprentice a really nice damaging character, because it's got a lot of damage but also costs a lot of mana. It's a really big AoE attack and does a lot of damage, plus knocks back enemies. Okay, that's it for the Apprentice. Let's go on evolution. The Evo, as it's called, is beam tower placer. It places beam towers. It also can use a lot of different weapons compared to the other classes. It can use hunter weapons or ranged weapons, and it can also use apprentice staffs, which makes it a nice combination for example, if you need knockback, you can just switch to the hunter's staff and knock them away, or you can just go and do range damage with the hunter's sorry, did I mix that up? Probably. Okay, let's go to her first tower, which is the proton beam. The way you place them is that you first have to click point A and then drag them to point B. As you can see, originally it only costs 2 DU, but the longer the beam, the more DU it costs. The proton beam is nice because it's continuously damage the tower or the enemies that walks through it. Yeah, not much to say about that. Then we have what I like this barricade the best, because it costs almost no DU and it's very durable. This is the barricade, or sorry, physical beam. It's got a lot of health point, and I don't believe it has I don't believe it gets aggro like the spike barricades. Next we have the reflection beam, which is a really nice one because it costs where you place it, you only need to use the 1 DU cost, and it reflects projectiles that the enemies toss. It's really nice if you have play a survival map where there's a lot of ranged mobs and ogres, because even the ogre's acid balls hits the reflection beam and just reflects back, which can increase or which can make them take damage from their own attacks. Next we have the shock beam, which is really a high damage laser, but also has slower attack speed. So it can be really nice to put in a choke point where you I can probably show an example up here. So if this is a choke point, you put it, for example, here and then over here, which means that they'll probably take 2 beams before they're through. But unfortunately it has charges, which means that you constantly have to watch out that the charge doesn't run out. Of course the charges can be or they get more charges when you upgrade them. That can help in a long fight. Last but most importantly, this is the beam why that makes this class very useful. It's the tower buff beam. Basically, any tower, or I'm not sure if it's also auras or summoned units that stands on this beam gets drastically increased in every stats. I'll make an example. I'll show you guys what I mean. Let's just place two harpoon turrets and make them shoot each of these target dummies, and then I'm gonna buff one of them, and let's see the damage difference. And of course I fuck up there. Okay, as you can see, both of them do 49,659 DPS, which is pretty decent. But now let's see, if I put a buff beam here, you will soon see that this one does a lot more damage. The good thing about this tower buff beam is that you can get, for example, about 3 harpoon turrets and about 5 summoned units from the summoner on one beam, if you only make it for DU. The longer it is, the more towers and stuff you can place on it, which makes it really nice. Also, if I upgrade the harpoon turret, it gets more damage. If I upgrade the buff beam, it also gets more damage. Lastly, at last, we have her activation abilities. The first one is the clone. It makes a clone of herself and aggroes or taunts mobs to attack it. Some mobs will still attack you even though the clone is up, and it lasts for quite a bit, or until its health run out. Secondly, we have I can't remember what this is. The charge blast, the proton charge blast, which basically when you charge it, it gather or collects all the mana around it, but instead of putting it in your mana pile, it absorbs it, and then you can fire it. The more mana you gather, the stronger the damage is. As you can see, it does a lot of damage. I believe if you use it in the tavern, like I do now, it automatically gets full charge. And how long it stays activated depends on how much mana you gathered, I think. Okay, let's switch on to the next hero. The next hero, we have the Summoner, which is a really nice boost. As you can see, the Summoner doesn't have any towers, but it has summoning units. It has 6 different summoning units, which everyone has different abilities. Let's go the Archer minion. It does exactly what the name says. It stands still and shoots archers, or arrows, sorry. Next we have the Spider minion, which stands still and shoot webs at the enemy. It's really nice because enemies that gets trapped within the web loses their attack speed, movement speed. Not really sure if they loses anything else like defense, but I don't think so. Next we have the Orc minion, which is a heavy melee character with a lot of health. Sorry, I'm not gonna summon these because these take a long time. Then we have the Mage minion. The Mage minion stands still, casts fireballs at enemies in range, but also does an AoE heal to other summon minions around him and players, which makes them really nice to have. The warrior minions are basically like the ninjas or rogues that you find in game. They're very quick and have fast attack speeds and are very bouncy. They jump around and kill people. Last we have the ogre minion, which is a high and heavy hitter. It's big, costs a lot of minion units, and takes a long time to summon. Then again, he's very strong, which makes him very efficient. Okay, I'm just gonna summon the warrior, and I'm gonna show you how another cool trick. The cool thing about the summoner is that if you right click, you have the command block. For example, here you have select all units, which select all personally summoned minions. That means only minions that you have summoned. Then you can deselect them, and then you have the other commands. So you can also just click them and move them around. But here's a nice little trick. If you press 0, it sends out a healing blast or a healing wave, which heals all friendly heroes and summoned units. His activation abilities, okay, I can't show them off here, but his overlord abilities phase shifts your body so it becomes immortal, and you get like an overlook view. There you can easily grab minions and move them around. See, you have two different you have move offensively, which it stops and damages targets in line, I believe. Then you move defensively, which I'm not 100% sure what it does, but I think it just moves and attacks the nearest target. Yeah, you zoom in and out with the scroll button. Last we have the Jester. I haven't really played this class a lot. I've only power boosted it, or power leveled it. The Jester works, or the Jester's towers are totally random. They can either be very nice or very bad. You place out these presents, which each round they get activated and pops out a random turret or a random enemy, which can turn the tides of battle or completely, sorry for saying it, fuck you up. If you're really unlucky, you get, for example, an ogre in the middle of your defensive zone or behind your defensive line, so the towers there can't shoot it. His or her activation abilities are these: move tower, which basically takes a tower and places it in another area. It's really nice if you have to fix small things that you, for example, have placed wrong. The other thing is Wheel of Fortuna. It's like a slot machine where depending on the outcome, it gives you buffs or buffs the enemy. It's I think it can be. I think it's not really lucky. It's just timing, because you can choose when to stop the wheel. Well, that's it for this hero view. I hope you liked it. If you did, you know what to do. Appreciate any comments that you want to give me, positive or negative. Yeah, have a nice day.